Hello everyone, my name's Hani. I'm a doctor from London. In this video I'm going to be talking about how and why I have decided to start a skincare line for people of colour. If that sounds like something you would be interested in, then please keep watching.
The goal is one day I would love to have a skincare brand for people of colour. Like, I just keep saying it because I'm trying to manifest it. I want it to become a real thing.
This year we've selected 7 incredible entrepreneurs from the US and the UK. Each of them will receive small grants that will help them boost their businesses.
I think actually the product ranges and skincare in general is very white normative. As someone who has like a medical sciencey background, I think it means that I'm able to understand and demystify a lot of the jargon and the confusingness of the skincare ingredients and what's kind of good for us.
But basically I started this channel because I had my own journey with bad skin and I managed to come out of the other side, and I just wanted to share those experiences. If you see me looking at my phone, it's because I want to remember what I said and not miss anything out, because I feel like I want to say a lot on this. This is something that's really important to me, so I want to express it as fluidly as possible. Okay, so just to start off with like the inception of all of this. So I started this YouTube channel because I've had like such bad skin. I've spoken about this before, but I've had every kind of bad skin. And I kind of use my own personal experiences and medical knowledge to kind of figure out what to do and come out of the other side. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, or if you've heard me speak on like Twitter or Clubhouse, you know that like I literally go into just how many thousands of pounds I've spent trying to fix my skin. I've had acne, I've had post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, hyperpigmentation around my mouth, you know, really stubborn acne scarring, really inflamed skin. I have very allergic skin, so you know I get rashes and all sorts. And even when I fixed my acne, I was left with loads of dark marks all over my face, which is known as post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, and it's something that happens to people with skin that's even slightly dark. What happens to white people with very fair skin, is they get post-inflammatory erythema, where they get a redness of the skin rather than like a dark mark. But post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, where you get that dark mark, that was literally the bane of my life. So even after like I had fixed my skin, it still looked like I had a face full of acne, just because I had all these dark marks all over my face. And yeah, my confidence really took a beating. And when I was at medical school, I kind of had imposter syndrome from being at medical school anyway, just because there were no black people in my year at medical school. Or I say in my year, like in the medical school, there were barely any black females, so I already kind of felt like I was on the fringes. And so when my skin was bad while I was a student, it was just the worst thing ever. Like I couldn't even like meet eyes with people. And I'm like, actually I would say quite a confident person. Like I've got good reasonable self-esteem most of the time, so I know kind of firsthand just how intrinsically linked your sense of personhood and esteem can be like associated with your skin, and how that can like affect your mental health and well-being. So for me, obviously I said I'd spent thousands and thousands overall, not in like one go, but seeing dermatologists, seeing estheticians. Admittedly I didn't see any ethnic estheticians, I just saw white ones, trying different products, and like I couldn't figure out anything that would help my skin. And I felt really exploited. Like I don't know, like I tried so many products, like I was exploitable in that situation, because I was so desperate for my skin to get better that I would like buy or do anything. And I think people definitely like took advantage of that, especially because I was a poor student. Like I couldn't really afford to be seeing like expensive dermatologists and stuff like that, and buying all these expensive products. But that's kind of where I ended up. And so kind of in the end, like my self-esteem was finished. And I think that was when I had this like eureka moment of like, we're literally at medical school, I have to study the skin anyway. Like why not just go through PubMed, which is this index of scientific journals? Why not just go through PubMed and just see if there's any like research papers that I can learn something from and figure out something tailored to my skin? So I literally probably at one point had read every single paper that had been published on hyperpigmentation and acne, and I created a routine for myself just based on that literature. And I made some products for myself, which in hindsight at the time was very sus. Like it was not, you know, a clinical anyway, but you know, I was concocting things for myself, and I started buying like really niche ingredients and products to try and get my skin better, and it worked. And they kind of like, obviously my skin eventually got a lot better. I began to understand exactly what was going on. I figured out that my acne was largely hormonal, because it was associated with a change in my periods. I figured out how to fade the post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. I figured out how to fade the perioral hyperpigmentation that I kind of just naturally had, which was also associated with hormones. And like my skin just went from like 0 to 100 in like 6 to 9 months. And for me, like beyond the changes to my skin, like the changes to my self-esteem were literally priceless. Like, I don't know, I was back to the old Hani. Like, I don't know, like it honestly, like even thinking about it now, like I don't recognize that version of myself. Like I was so timid, like I would hunch my shoulders over, like I wouldn't make eye contact with people. I would always wear lots and lots of makeup, but obviously makeup doesn't hide texture. My face just was like really bumpy. Like anyway, I didn't want to look at anyone. And then I eventually kind of just felt like myself again. And it was so liberating that was kind of why I had the impetus to start a YouTube channel, because I just thought, I felt like I've had some experiences and I want to share the positive outcomes of those with other people. And then it didn't just kind of jump to YouTube. I was kind of counseling friends and family on what they should be doing for their skin and giving them advice before I made that transition. Because I also feel like so many people, when I would Google, like, what do I do about fading these dark marks or about the dark skin around my mouth or whatever, like there'd be so many Google searches and just not that many answers, short of like put lemon juice in your face or really toxic, dangerous things. So I was just like, clearly a lot of us have the same issue. So, you know, I then made this channel, I started filming videos, and I posted a video that actually did very well, how to get rid of hyperpigmentation. And that video went viral, and you know, it now has, I think, around 700,000 views. And I got a feature in Vice magazine and Birdie magazine, and I think it went viral on like some Facebook groups and Reddit, and it went, and I think Twitter as well. Actually, yes, Twitter, because I use Twitter regularly. And it was amazing, and it was so like affirming to know that like my advice was so helpful to so many people. And so many people left such lovely comments saying their skin looked so much better. And there's even a couple of videos which I'll link, who it's people who've used my routine and come out of the other side, and their skin's, you know, doing so much better now.
I did find a video which was like really beneficial, so I just wanted to change up like everything I do.
But trust me, if you watch everything to the end, you understand skincare more in depth.
And like just people like tagging me in their pictures, and people were sending me pictures privately on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. And it was honestly so like my heart felt full. And it was just, it's been the best thing ever. But then also there was, I guess, an element of like disappointment in that, okay, so the reason this video has done well is because everyone has this problem and no one's addressing it. So while I was really obviously so glad to see that it had worked for so many people, I was, you know, quite disappointed that lots of us clearly have the same struggle. Like, why we're all out here with our struggle 5 o'clock shadow around our mouth, and do you know what I mean? Another like really recurrent theme that I was coming across with people saying like, I'm just so skeptical of products, like I'm just wary of spending money on it because I've tried so many things that say they do this, that say they fade dark marks, and they don't work. And I've had that same skepticism, which is why I kind of started this journey of learning about the skin in the first place, because I would buy things and they didn't work. Like as I say, literally spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds on skincare products, etc. So, you know, I've also felt jaded and like unconvinced as a consumer as well. But for me, one of the things that people might not know, but one of the things that I have learned from looking and reading all these scientific journals about skincare, almost all of these studies are done on Fitzpatrick skin types 1 and 2. And I'll insert a picture of Fitzpatrick skin types 1 and 2, maybe like here somewhere, so you can see what I mean. So essentially it's just white skin. And in research papers, a lot of the time they have to control variables. So if you're, you know, studying something, you want to kind of keep as many variables the same as possible to make it a fair test. And from seeing that in these research papers, it made me even more skeptical of like skincare and products at the drugstore, because it was like, I've read the papers and I've seen that you only test these things on like white skin essentially, and these products aren't being created with ethnic skin in mind, which is why I feel like a lot of us have had these bad experiences. And essentially my opinion is that skincare is very white normative. I think skincare reflects the same racism that is endemic in our societies. And I want to give like a very clear example of how structural racism plays out in skincare, because you're probably thinking this girl's so extra, like how is skincare racist? But I'm going to give you an example. So I'm sure that people know that sunscreens are rated using SPF. So they'll have an SPF rating. So a sunscreen could be like SPF 20, or it could be SPF 30, SPF 50. And the higher the number, the more it protects you from the different like UV radiation that comes from the sun. Now, one of the ways of measuring, sorry, even thinking about this is so ludicrous to me, which is why I started laughing, but one of the ways of establishing the SPF rating of sunscreen is by a method called in vivo testing. And in vivo testing, I'm going to put the formula here of how they calculate the SPF rating. Is the sunscreen SPF 50 or is it SPF 30? And what they do is they divide the minimal erythemal dose of protected skin by the minimal erythemal dose of unprotected skin. And what that means essentially is they'll get some skin and they'll put some UV radiation on it, so the same radiation that comes from the sun. They measure how red it gets, and then they put the sunscreen on it, and then they measure how much less red it gets using that sunscreen. So obviously the less red the skin gets with the sunscreen on, the more effective that sunscreen. Now, while that's all very well and good, it's the way I'm not ever gonna go red. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that to me tells us everything. Like, you could slap me around the face and my cheek would not go red. So I think that says it all. Like, that is in no way, shape or form applicable to me as a dark-skinned person. And I think that's a really clear example of how, like, a lot of these products send to whiteness, whether you realize that or not. And actually, how efficacious is that sunscreen on black skin, because it also tells me that you're really testing it on people who can go red. Does that make sense? If you're testing it on subjects and measuring the redness, you're not going to be doing it on people who don't go red. So, you know, that to me was a very clear way of kind of expressing how structural racism is endemic in skincare. And this is kind of where I come in. Okay, my camera died, and while I was charging the battery, like, I forgot how far I got. Okay, so Korea magazine then launched, like, it just felt really serendipitous. So Korea magazine launched a grant competition for black and brown founders of businesses to submit their ideas, and if you won, you would get a grant and you would be assigned a mentor who's like related to your field. So I just thought, you know what, like, this is it. This is like, this has always been this like fanciful idea that one day I would have a skincare line for people of color, like tailored to their needs. And obviously, like, this competition literally fell into my lap, so I thought, okay, this is a sign. Even if I don't get it, it will be a really useful exercise to like do a business plan and a pitch deck and just learn about my business. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna go for it. And then I went for it, and I spent like literally every evening after work, I spent 3 or 4 hours working on this, and I ended up working with one of my friends along the way. It's an amazing friend of mine called Mona. She is literally the queen of image creation, composition, visual stories, branding. I asked her to help me get the branding right, because, you know, branding is not my field. I don't know anything about it. I was like, I know the product, but I don't know anything about like branding and packaging and things like that. So I got her on board to help me, and we just worked so well together that I asked her to just join me on this project. She's also a skincare fanatic, and you guys are going to meet her soon. I'll put a clip of her like here.
Hi, I'm Mona. I am currently studying architecture. I also do a little bit of work in fashion, mainly experimenting between photography and styling, as well as, inshallah, developing the visuals.
But yeah, you guys are going to meet her soon, and I'll explain why. And yeah, we just went for it. And you know, by the end of it, and I'd literally come home from work after a full day at the hospital and just be sat in front of my computer until 3 or 4 a.m. and then up at 7 to go to work the next day. Like, I was so passionate about it that I wasn't even tired, because, you know, it's just always been something I wanted to do. This opportunity fell in my lap, and I just thought, win or lose, like, it's going to be a really good learning experience for me. So I applied. And then we won. Like, we actually won out of like the 1,000 applicants. There were 6 winners and we were one of them out of like 1,000 applicants, which is insane. And they loved our idea, they loved our branding, they loved the product. They totally agreed that it was something that needed to happen. And yeah, and they assigned us this amazing business mentor. It's a lady who has a successful business. She's like a Harvard MBA. She's a really, really cool person, and she loves our idea, and she also is totally on board with it. And she's gonna help steer me in the right direction. And honestly, like, just to come back to why I'm doing this in the first place, I genuinely want to create products that I wish already existed. And it just confuses me that more products like this don't exist. Just going back to that hair care example, like, if you have afro hair, you wouldn't use European hair products. Why do we pretend that skincare is one size fits all when it isn't? And just to make this totally clear, while I say it's a skincare line for people of color, I want to make it clear that everyone is able to use the skincare line. It's not exclusionary. Anyone from any race can use it. But I want to subvert the normal modes of production of skincare. So I want to flip it on its head essentially. So in the same way that we use products that are formulated under white normativity, I want to create products that can be used by everyone, but are formulated with the needs of people of color being put first and foremost. And the thing that irks me is we saw how when Fenty Beauty released like this really inclusive makeup range with foundations in every single color, we saw that literally everyone and their dog, all the makeup brands, everyone started copying that and started producing like really inclusive shade ranges. But I really hate that reactive shit, because it was like, you're very, very happy to not include us until someone else showed you that it was profitable. And I want to create products that center me and my community. And it's not a reaction to what's trendy or what other people are doing. It's just out of a sincere desire to work for your community, and to create products that can be used by people who look like me. So I want to create products that help prevent your skin from getting dark marks after you get acne. I want to create products that help fade those marks if they do appear. I want to produce sunscreens that don't make you look ashy. I want to make sunscreen powders that you know, go in shade ranges deep enough that people with dark skin can use it, and sunscreens that you can comfortably reapply over makeup. Do you know what I mean? I want to create products that actually think about what ethnic people need, and yeah, that's where I am with that. So I hope you guys will support me on this journey. One thing I will say though is with the sunscreens, that is absolutely going to be one of the products we formulate much later down the line. Obviously, as I say, I've been doing extensive research and I've been working on this business. I'm hesitant to say the name and stuff because we've still got trademarks pending, but I'm sure you'll love our branding and everything we've created so far. But the thing with sunscreens is that in some regions they're classed as medicinal products. So they're treated like medicine, so they undergo much more rigorous testing and regulations. So I know that sunscreens will be something that we come out with later down the line. And I think another thing that was really important to me is like, people of color have this extra intellectual labor to skincare where we have to do this extra research all the time that, you know, like a white person probably wouldn't always have to do. Like we have to, when we buy products, you have to Google, you know, what does it look like on dark skin? Or does it actually work? And going on forums on Reddit and searching on Google to see if these products will actually work for us. And I just want to remove your skepticism from products and the intellectual labor from being a consumer. I don't want you to have a deep dive. I want you to pick up products from the shelf and know they were formulated with you in mind. I want you to be able to luxuriate in the experience of trying beautiful but functional products that were made for you. And the other thing that's really important to me is, this might be a bit cringy, but I do just want to say it, that one thing is that being a doctor, I know that people are very likely to take what I say as gospel, and people are likely to listen to me and are much more likely to trust my opinions than, you know, your average Joe. So I'm always going to work to be someone who's worthy of that trust. And yeah, that's not something I take lightly. I just want to say that as well. And yeah, that's that on that. I'm so excited to share this with you because it's been in the pipeline for probably 6 months now, but I'm so glad to share that with you. I would love to hear what you guys think. I would love to hear about what products you would like to see. And this is me back now. I'm back on YouTube. I've been back, but I've not been here properly because I've been doing all of this in the background. But I'm so happy to, it feels like a weight off my chest to be able to share it with you guys. It feels like a weight off my chest to be able to share it with you guys. And I'm gonna link a mailing list on the screen or in the description bar if you want to stay informed about when we're launching, and if we eventually will create a waiting list for our first couple of products. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely sign up. And if any potential investors are watching, I would love to hear from you. We've had quite a few offers of investment already, but for us it's really important that we find someone who really understands the brand ethos and our values, and we've not quite had that yet. We'd also love to hear from anyone who has links to manufacture or research and development, because that's obviously going to be a key component of the business. And then I'm also going to be launching a startup series, so I just want to take you guys behind the scenes of all the things that happen when you start a business. Like, I constantly am having meetings, I'm learning so much all the time. I really understand the product, but business is definitely something that's new to me, so I'm learning so much. And yeah, I wanted to show you guys exactly what happens. And you know, obviously we're in lockdown now, but when we come out of lockdown, take you around the labs and show you the products being made, etc. And yeah, so once a month or so we're going to post a video, the different chapters, so you can experience it as we experience it. And so the next few skincare videos I'm going to be doing are going to be with, so the next few skincare videos I do will all be with creators that I love. They'll all be people of color. So I'm going to do a video on keratosis pilaris, or people call it chicken skin. Let me post a picture of that as well so you know what I'm talking about, with Alicia Lati, who is like one of my all-time favorite skincare bloggers. You should absolutely follow her on Instagram and Twitter. I'll link her info below. I'm going to do a video on Cispira as well, which is this, if you've not heard about it, it's this really amazing new hyperpigmentation treatment. It's so expensive, but it's very much the evidence really. I've started using it actually. I'm only a few days in, so I can't really comment at this stage, which is I'm going to try out for a bit longer, but the reviews seem to be insane. It's very expensive, but it seems to be like amazing. And so I'm going to kind of break down the science, but also I want to get Antonia on board, who is a black esthetician who I think uses it on her clients. It'd be really good to see her kind of professional perspective on it. And I think it's a really good treatment for people who feel like they've tried everything already, although as I say, it's very expensive. I'm going to be doing videos on eczema and acne and body pigmentation. I promise you guys that one is coming, I promise. I've just been a bit waylaid with all this other stuff. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting me on this journey. Thank you so much for inspiring me to go on this journey. Like, I can't say enough how grateful I am to all of you guys. You guys have been really supportive, encouraging, motivational, and it's just nice to form a kinship with people from your own community online, especially because online can be quite a lonely space, but you guys have made it so much more welcoming. So I'm so grateful to you guys, and I'm so excited to see what the future holds. Bye everyone.
Yeah, dirty. How we let it get like this? I don't know.